guys, another day update on the no start diagnosis. So as you saw in the last video, I removed the starter relay and I've got a new one in order. It'll take a few days to come in, so I just thought it'd be a good idea to just continue checking the starting circuit and perhaps doing a load test on the battery. So what I've done here is essentially I've hooked up my multimeter points on the battery. As before, I'm still recording a good voltage. So what essentially I'm going to do is bridge these 2 points, essentially manually do the action what the starter relay would do, and I'm looking to see at what voltage that drops to. Anything below 10 or 9 volts is essentially a failed load test in the battery, and the battery needs to be replaced, even though at idle it's showing a high enough voltage. Okay, so I will put these in position. So I will bridge these 2 points, and then the starter motor should run, and then we're going to see what that voltage drops to. As you can see, when I connect it, the starter motor doesn't even run. I did try this before and it managed to get it to rotate a little bit, but the voltage in the battery is dropping way too low. Let's try that one more time, let that creep back up. Yep, so in my opinion this battery is actually food. Okay guys, so I went and got myself a new battery, and straight away they're in stock, which was good, and I just want to show you the quality of some of the batteries we get nowadays. It's pretty shocking. As you can see on the top here, you've got negative symbol, positive symbol, okay, but then on the side you've got positive and negative. So that's really fucking helpful, isn't it? So I'll show you how to check, very simple, how to check which one's which. Okay guys, so to check which way the negative and positive side on the batteries are, hook it up to a multimeter. So I've gone with assuming at the top here that's correct, so I've got my red to the positive and the black to the negative. But if you see on my multimeter there, it's set on 20 volts, it's showing a negative symbol. So that's telling me that it's the wrong way around. If I flip this now, okay guys, so now I've switched the multimeter leads over, so I've got the red to the negative symbol but positive on the side, and the black to the positive but negative on the side. As you can see now we are reading a positive voltage, so this tells me now this is the correct way around, and that is how I should install it on the bike. If I'd gone with what it states on the top there, it'd have caused slightly more blown fuses and other electrical damage. So well done Vertex. So if you see this and you want me to remove this video, I'll accept 1 million. Okay guys, so I've hooked up the new battery and I'm going to do another load test, just so it shows you what a healthy battery should give you on the multimeter. So as before, I've hooked up the multimeter leads the correct way, ignoring the symbols. I've tried to mark on top here what they actually are, just for future reference, I don't forget. So as you can see, it's a brand new battery and it's reading 13.36 volts. Okay, so as before, I'm going to bridge the connections that would have been on the starter relay. Again, essentially doing what the starter relay would do. So what we should hear is the bike crank over, and the voltage should not drop below 10 to 9 volts, I would say. So let's go. See that? Perfect. Didn't get anywhere near that low. So this battery's good, and we can carry on. Hi guys. So another update. While I'm waiting on the this new starter relay, I thought I'd perhaps check the ignition circuit, see there's no issues there, because what concerns me is that on the connected to the starter relay. So obviously the starter relay is damaged, and it looks like there's been some damage here to the harness end as well. And this line goes, this is the ignition line on that pin, and that goes from here through the ignition switch and then through the ignition fuse here. So what I've noticed is I'm getting obviously continuity there because that's directed to the lead, but if I touch the port on the ignition fuse, there is nothing, no continuity. The ignition is on, as you can see. So what that tells me is there's a break in between this point and this point somewhere I need to find, and looking at that I would imagine it's probably around this area here. So what I'm going to do now is remove some of the insulation tape here, find the wire that's going to the ignition switch and test it from this point to eliminate from this point down and go from there. Okay, some more continuity testing here. So obviously I'm questioning this bit here because it's so damaged. So what I've done is just to test it that there's no break from here to here. I've just back probed. As you can hear, I'm getting continuity from that point and that point. So even though that looks pretty terrible, it's still intact within here. So the issue must be further down the line, unfortunately. Okay guys, next step in trying to find out where this break in this wire is. So I've still got it probed into the connector to the starter relay. As before, when I pinned the ignition fuse, there's no continuity there, so again there must be a break in that line somewhere. After the last video I tested the actual connector here and that seems fine. So what I've done now is I've removed the side fairings and the windscreen to have access to the back of the ignition switch. So the first thing I'm going to test is from here to the ignition switch. So if I get continuity there, I know at least that section's okay. Let's find out. Okay, as we can hear, that's fine. So that bit to the ignition switch is okay. So I think we're narrowing down it. So now we need to go from the ignition switch to the fuse box. Okay then. So next step is I'm going to test the actual ignition switch itself. So what I've got here, I've got the ignition actually on the on position. According to the wiring diagram, there should be now connection between the red wire, which came from the starter relay harness connection, and then it should bridge to the red and black wire here, which goes to the fuse box. So I'm already touching the red wire, so I'm going to touch this red and black to the fuse box, and I should get continuity. As you can hear, or rather not hear, there's no beep. That tells me that there's it looks like there might be a problem with this ignition switch, which I need to rectify or replace. Okay, to further prove that there's an issue with the ignition switch, I thought I'd still test the wire going from the ignition switch to the fuse box. The fuse box is located here, not sure if you can see that. So I've pinned one side of the multimeter into the fuse box, to the cable that would go to the ignition switch. So now, if I pin the red and black wire, that should give me continuity to that point. Yep. So, in conclusion, I've got continuity from the relay harness to the ignition switch. I've got continuity from the out point from that switch to the fuse box. So the issue must lie inside the ignition switch. Good times, Stevie.